Hello, everyone, and welcome. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Family Show. The Family Show is that show where families gather together to be inspired together, to be equipped together, and at the end of the day, with the hope of being transformed. At the Family Show, we examine very many things in life that affect the family unit, and we all agree that the family unit is not just an important unit, it is everything. So tonight, without much ado, we are going to look at a very important aspect of life, something you've been writing about, wanting to know how families can still stick together in times of crisis, and whether indeed it is possible that actually people can stick together and how they can stick together. Because the reality of life is that many times things do not go the way we want them to go. At some point, things begin to take a different turn other than the one we wanted. Sometimes we begin to have storms facing families. And so, is it possible that that is the time when many families give up? That is possible. Is it true that then it is possible that families can hold together during times like those? Yes, it is possible. And that is what we want to examine tonight. And to help us bring that into perspective is a very good friend of mine, a coach, and someone who is well versed in this conversation, someone who's been holding similar conversations all over. Help me, good people, to welcome Ruth Mueni, who is already in studio with me, so that she can help us put this into perspective.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Coach Roy. It's indeed great pleasure and a privilege to be in this forum this very day. I want to thank God that He has enabled us to be able to meet and to discuss this sensitive matter, holding together during family crisis. And just like you can see from my image, yes, when crises come, then there are the what we call the cracks are evident, and the stability is being shaken. And we really ought to ask ourselves, then what next? I usually love handling this kind of a topic in another version, like what next when vows get tested and tried? How then do we navigate irrespective? Because the crisis will be there, difficult situations will always be there. But then, irrespective of them being there, how do we hold on? When I look at this topic again, I'm thinking of a building that has started being cracking. At times, it is usually because of the foundation, or maybe some shake-ups or some wind come and they shake the building, and then it happens there are cracks. And when there are cracks, you want to ask yourself, okay, so what next? Do you destroy the entire building altogether, or do you have some pillars come to hold together that building? And so that by the end of the day, it is salvaging this kind of a construction or this kind of a building. And so we have today, I have the privilege to take us through this conversation. Feel free, share with us your thoughts around the same. I believe we are all family members here or potential family members. I am a family person, I am a mother, and I am a wife, and I'm glad to share the same because even using my own personal experiences of what it has been. So big question starts, then what are these crises, or what is a crisis? And with a written definition here by John Kennedy, he says that crisis is written in Chinese and it is composed of two characters. So one of represents danger and the other represents opportunity. And so it's up to us to know or to pick whatever it is that will represent the crisis, because the end result will either be danger or an opportunity. So it's a form of a challenge that disrupts families. That's one of form of a way of my definition, or turning point brought in by change, because every change that comes in, you will hear people refer it as a crisis, or there's some change that has really come to disrupt people, disrupting the manner we live, disrupting the manner things do happen. So that comes in as a crisis. It can either be a positive thing or a negative one. It's a disruptor of a comfort zone. Then, of course, I also picked this one from Mr. Google, that crises are negative changes in a human or environmental affairs, especially when they occur abruptly with little or no warning. And for the current season we are in, we are talking of Rona, or COVID 2019, that has really come and disrupted us. Of course, with this definition, it occurred abruptly and with little warning for us, with no understanding of what this thing is, what effects, how long it will last. All those, it came, and here it is with us. And many families have really been affected in one way or another, being taught to work from home, or jobs being lost, opportunities being lost, businesses being affected. And with that kind of an understanding or preparedness, then it brought in what we call the crisis in families. And, like when I mentioned of vows being tested, and having this mind or understanding, then the reason as to why people could be able to settle in a family setup, and this time we are talking about maybe a family setup whereby we even have a husband and a wife, and you are used to be earning this income from this opportunity, maybe you're employed or your businesses are doing so well, and all of a sudden things just change. That income that we are expecting stops coming, because again we have several types of crisis that will be able to come and affect us. Might be relationships, might be financial, all those, and it will be able to come and affect us in a negative way. So this time around we are focusing on the danger aspect, and also we'll be looking at then what opportunities do we get from there. All right, so it's a moment of intense difficulty and danger, is what we are looking at. So we have some effects of crisis, and I would mention by saying crises come with new opportunities, just like from the definition, depending with the learnings that we want to pick from it. Some things happen to either make us or break us, and if it cannot kill us, then we say it can only make us better or stronger. Again, also our faith if I wish to borrow more from even the Christian perspective, our faith increases as they become stepping stones, because you're like, if I'm able to overcome this situation, or you have hope that you'll be able to overcome, then your faith does not remain the same. It really grows to the next level, and you are ready to even get to the next move of a challenge happening. So challenges, when they come to us, or crises come to us, there could be opportunities, and our faith also increases, because we are not left the same. They lead us to hold others, especially when we overcome, leading to getting learnings if resolved in maturity. And when we talk of holding others, what I mean is that some of these crises, they come and happen, and they create for us an opportunity. It could be a painful situation, then it leads us to a purpose. For example, it could be someone who has lost an opportunity or a job, and they realize another opportunity or potential whereby instead of becoming an employee, they even became an employer, and they can be able to teach others what they can be able to do. Identify some skills or identifying some talents that have not been utilized, now being fully utilized and affecting others positively. So again, we are saying it can lead someone overcome, and also the great learning lead to great other opportunities. Then they also push us to the next level. When I say pressure is necessary, I usually love getting this example of a vehicle. When you are traveling and you have a car that is having the four wheels, you realize when you don't have enough pressure, then the journey may not be that stable. It may not be that effective. Or assuming even one tire has some pressure issues, challenges, and the rest have. So there's no balance there. And that pressure, when it is inserted in that wheel, then it makes it necessary, it makes it possible for this car to be able to be optimized or to be used in the right way, especially on the road. So that pressure sometimes it's required. Even when we are doing some work, I've seen even in the employment sector, some kind of employees would require a little bit of pressure to be able to move to achieve or to be in the category of being productive. And so that pressure is also necessary to push us to the next level. So what are then crises? The cons of crisis. Some of these crises will be able to separate us from family members. We've all experienced or maybe heard from our close family members or some close friends or families that have just decided to part ways. Why? Because a crisis has happened, opportunities have been left, have been lost. And so the best thing for someone to do, because it could be their own reason that the reason as to why we are being held together here is because of this income, maybe that has ceased to be happening. And so that brings in a lot of conflicts. And so what results to that is separation of that family, or lots of opportunities, or less productivity. It's also a con of a crisis, because if that crisis happens and we are not able to look out for other opportunities, then we can even give up, and we become less productive. And if, for example, unemployment has been lost, and someone decides, then since this is the only hope I had, the only other opportunity I have maybe is to lazy around, maybe watch more of TV, or maybe sleep more, and then not thinking that like there's another opportunity coming. So misplacement of family members again. This will come like this family was really united in a way, and because of not being able to be united out of separation, then misplacement, you are finding yourself where you ought not to have been or where you desired in terms of location, in terms of doing things together, then it's also another con. I'll also talk of bitterness, because if we are not looking at the positive aspect or the benefit of this crisis that has just happened, it leaves others with a lot of bitterness, blame games, like you feel like this thing just came to disrupt me. And since I am not happy and I'm bitter, then that bitterness or that someone becoming, they are hurt so much. And we say that hurting people also hurt others. And so that bitterness aspect can also be found in many families. Of course, when someone is bitter, they are not in peace with any other person, then it causes many other complications. And again, the family is also affected in a negative way. And we're talking of crisis being on the danger or the negative aspect. The blame game, I've also mentioned, whereby we blame each other. Someone can, if, for example, if it is someone who lost their job, they may want to start blaming a colleague or blaming the employer, or complaining, and maybe shifting that blame to someone else, not wanting to sink alone. And so the blame game starts going round, and then this hinders us from seeing the opportunity. So what are some of the causes of this family crisis? One of them, I am picking it as miscommunication or lack of communication at all. And when I talk of miscommunication, it is where maybe we are communicating and we are not understood by our parties. And maybe in this regard, we are talking of, say, a couple, and one partner is communicating or lack of communication, and especially on decisions that they would wish to take. I've heard of couples whereby someone wants to take a major decision, and they feel if I share this information with my partner, they'll not be supportive. And they make very funny decisions. And when they go to, they are hitting the rock, the bottom rock. That is when they start now communicating, and which is a bit late of a sort. So miscommunication or not communicating at all, it leads also to a family crisis that we may need to address and ask ourselves, then how can we better our communication so that we are all sharing information as it ought to be shared at the right time by the right person, so that we can be able to have everyone on the same page of what it is that we want to communicate. And met expectations is also something else that I would say will be able to cause crisis in families. And of course, this one will be brought in by lack of communication still. It is born by miscommunication, because if there's something I'm expecting from my partner and I am not making it clear to him, he may not be able to understand what it is that I want. And so that one can be able to cause that crisis coming to happen into our lives. I will also say pride is, or maybe opinionated, being selfish, whereby in a family setup, everybody should be working towards meeting the interest of each and every other family member. But if I stand in to say it is about me, myself, and I, then I'll not be in loving my partner or my family members, or if I feel that I cannot come down to have a common understanding of what everyone else loves. For example, it could be I love sports, so everybody else should love sports, or I love taking Gideri, so everybody else should also follow suit. I mean, we should be able to be sensitive of what other people desire or require in this family, so that we can be able to play all this in an equal manner regarding every other person member and treasuring them. So again, I will say pride is also a cause of this. Financial crisis, this one I just mentioned, there's a type or lack of income. Of course, of late, when you realize, especially when talking and interacting with the youth, and people talking of the kind of spouses they are looking at, and number one of the checklist becomes like someone who is financially stable. And we want to ask ourselves, okay, when we say vows being tested, when you talk of financial stability, and it is a season, and then times come, just like the way we are saying, this season of COVID, and people have been affected in business. So then it means, because if the number one expectation was to have my partner being financially stable, then if the stability of income has been touched, then that is the only thing that was bringing us together. Then it is not a natural chemistry that brought us together, but the financial aspect that brought us together. And since it has been affected, that crisis happened, right? So health issues, and this one I believe we've heard of issues of people being sick and the partners leaving each other based on the challenges of health. Of course, no one will be able to call on of health issues to approach. Otherwise, when they come, and God forbid, we ought to be able to stick together and support each other, just like the way we say the vows, for better, for worse, in good health and in bad health. And you're wondering, do we say these vows for the sake of a formality for us to finish up, wrap up the event, we go for honeymoon? And then now it dawns to us, when now the vows are really being tested. We said for better, for worse. In finances and out of finances, in health and out of health. No, it doesn't sink to us that it can really happen. Then when it happens, again, it causes another crisis. So we pause and ask ourselves, then these crises do happen. Then how do we resolve them so that we can be able to hold each other and support each other in this family setup? Because I believe and trust that none of us that are in family or intend to get into a family walk in there with an understanding or with the mindset that I'm just giving it a trial, You're getting in there saying, this is my lifetime partner. These are the people that I'll spend my time with till death do us part. Then within a short time, things do happen. Then how can we resolve and still ensure that we can be able to stand strong, that those pillars, we can be able to position them and ensure the foundation is still very strong? And number one, I would say prayer, and especially in the Christian life, and also for any other, whichever religion you could be, praying together is very important. A family that prays together stays together, having that faith, believing together. And of course, playing together. It's not just about prayer, but you can also do things together. You pray together, identify what are these some of the games that you can be able to do together and support each other. Extending kindness to one another, being sensitive is also another way. because each and every one of us would really wish that some kind of a kindness is extended, doing to others what we would wish them do to us. So if I want someone to be kind to me, they ought to be sensitive to me. Then I should be able to do the same to someone else. For example, if this time round, say the financial issue has come and affected us, or for example, my partner has lost an opportunity, then I ought to be sensitive to know this person is not sober enough, irrespective. This is someone who is used to be getting their income, or maybe in their business, someone who has been, who is used to be getting good money in their business, and all of a sudden, this thing has happened. Business have closed, or maybe they have been kicked out of employment. Then I ought to be kind to know I don't need to blame them this much or in whichever way, but I ought to extend that kindness, express that support, that love to them so that they can feel they matter in their space in this family. And that way, I believe we can be able to hold and resolve. Pay the price, look for help. Therapists counsel, learn every day. Paying the price, when we say we look for help, at times the help will cost you even some money, it will cost you some time. It will cost you being able to step up and say, I am not able to do it alone, but I really want to look for this help, because you could be a family setup whereby you are not the only ones that are undergoing such a thing, or someone you know of has already gone ahead of such an experience and they overcame, and you may want to ask them, then in this situation that I am in, the Bible says there's nothing new that under the sun. And so you may want to ask yourself, who else could have undergone such a thing? And how did they even manage to jump or navigate through it? And maybe you may be able to love some principles you may pick from there and learn. But it takes for someone being intentional and say, when I got into this setup and in this family, I was not just coming to give it a trial, but I was here to see productivity and see whether we can be able to achieve our dreams together and grow together and be able to achieve much all together. So that price is there. We have a lot of help out here. We may need to look out for that help. We don't need to have that pride of saying, I am a know-it-all. I've heard of other couples say, those people that keep on counseling others, they are also human beings like me. And that's why we have these professionals, people spending time paying the price to go for courses, and they getting to know, then how can I help? Or someone who has undergone such kind of a situation, and they are ready to hold others' hand and say, we want to climb the mountain together. So when we look out for help, I am sure we will be able to get it. Retreat and look back during audit moments, the first love. When I talk of audit moments, I usually love it in them, like especially when it happens in the corporate world. And it gets to the beginning of the year, and people will give themselves targets of this is what I want to achieve. And we review this every quarter, or we review this every month, or whichever period. And pausing and looking back, even in the marriage. And I usually say, we talk of marriage institution or the family, and it is an institution on its own. And you see, in an institution, and especially in the corporate where people are employed, I have seen the employees really do work very hard so that they can be able to get to aim at either getting promoted or being recognized as this employee of the month, or get to the even going back to class, to acquire the skills, the papers, all the qualifications to be stand out in that opportunity. And now the big question I also ask myself and the many that we interact is, then why do we neglect the marriage setup or the family setup as an institution and say should not go in autopilot, that the moment you settle down and you realize I am already someone's wife or I'm already someone else's husband, and that's it. I mean, you've already ticked all the boxes of the checklist of the person you wanted. Then we do less on the same to ensure that we can have these retreat moments and looking back and say, what is that we really wanted to obtain or to achieve as a family? How did we put aside we could be able to resolve our conflicts? You know, the audit moments that you say, or even remembering the first love, you know, when crises do happen and you remember the first love, how you even met. You know, it can really be a therapeutic moment and also giving you memories of understanding. Then why should I allow this crisis? Why should I allow this loss of job? Why should I allow this kind of situation happen? And I be allowing not to remember where we started off and where we are headed. It's like something comes in and blinds us not to focus on where we are supposed to go or the achievements that we want to look back. So as in this institution, can I stand in to say that I want to be this woman who is a wife, who is to be awarded the monthly reward for the wife of the month or the husband of the month, or those children that will be affected in this family, to stand out to be proud that they belong into this family or whosoever it is, because we ought to do the audit moments, ask ourselves, do we need even to go to do some courses? Do we even read the books that will be able to help us become better, seeking this knowledge to understand? Then how do we resolve these issues? Forgiveness is very key, and you know, marriage is for people that will have to keep on forgiving each other. And in the family setup, people come in and make a family from different backgrounds. We don't understand each other's background, but we are here to be able to accommodate each other and to support each other. And maybe what I think would be a thing that will excite someone. And I remember there's I'll just give an example. There's some time I had an opportunity to invite a family member in my house. And, you know, we decided with my husband that we can invite this family member. And in my mind, I'm thinking, when they come in, this is the things I'll do. You know, I have a lineup of activities of how to excite them and how to make them feel nice. And they've, you know, then now the time come. And all the things that I did or we did towards bringing some excitement or some, you know, some kind of laughter, they turned out to be, those are not the things that this person wanted. And of course, I believe where we went wrong is first by imagining by ourselves that this is the only thing that can make this person happy. On the other side, we were not right as per the person or as the family member we invited. So again, it gets back to asking for this forgiveness and saying, I want to relieve someone from my heart and remember the first love that we had, because none of us is anxious and none of us is holy, and we may be able to even do wrong even without expecting. And even where we are doing wrong with that knowledge, again, forgiveness is key. And when I can be able to refer to the good book, the Bible, even when Jesus was teaching us about the Lord's Prayer, and we expect him to forgive us, the Bible says that when Jesus was teaching the disciples and also us, the prayer is that the Lord's Prayer is forgive us as we forgive others. So how can we be able to be quick to ask for forgiveness and we are not ready to forgive? And so to hold each other together, then it calls for us to forgive one another and to love one another, irrespective, we are able to forgive. Being selfless and give support. Of course, selfless is minding the other person more than you could be able to mind. And it is about loving even your enemy. And this family member, at times, they can position themselves as enemies if they do ask things that we don't expect or we didn't expect from them. And so being selfless is what calls for portraying the love and portraying the care to this other person out there, that we can be able to say this is a way of resolving the conflict. So when you say we can be able to spice it once again, decorate it, you know. The other day I was having a discussion with a friend, and we were saying that you could be having a flat with many houses. And the difference between this house and the other, it is what we call the finishing or the touch up. And again, these houses could even be the same in terms of shape, looks, but the finishing makes all the difference. Or rather, the decorating, because we have guys that do interior decor, and they're artistic. And you may be finding even identical houses, but when you get inside there, then the interior decor done in this house really makes it outstanding. And for us in our families, we want to ask ourselves, then how can we spice the relationship within the family, whether within a couple, whether within the entire family members that are in there. You know, when you talk of playing together, when you're talking of doing things differently, because we say it is sanity to keep on doing things over and over again and expect different results. Because if someone is used to be doing this kind of a job, and things have happened, and the job is no longer available, so there's no income, and you keep on waiting and waiting, or you are looking at this business that should be able to expand, and you're not doing anything much. You know, you're not inserting more capital. You are not asking yourselves what are the needs you are resolving for the customers, what are some of the products that you need to increase, and you're waiting for autopilot of this business to expand or to grow, then it doesn't happen. There ought to be something you do in this. If it is doing something over again, might be how we talk to each other. You know, the pause and asking myself, I have been talking to my spouse in this manner for quite some time, and they are not happy about it. How can I improve it? You know, the self-development of asking, how can I be this kind of a person who is better than yesterday, so that I can be able to please the partner I am with? How can I be able to please the family members within me? How can I be able to do something that will be able to encourage them to be closer to me? And so that is what we call decorating it or spicing it and making it sweet. You know, spicing it is just like the normal way you cook. Today you could be able to cook some meal and you feel it is just flat. And tomorrow you would want to try some spices and try others and try others until you feel, yeah, this thing is making all the difference. So I believe and trust we have all what it takes to be able to spice it again, whether in the family setup, whether in a couple setup, and see if we are intentional to making this work, then the real work had to be put in place, and it can be able to give us that opportunity to see it work for us. When you talk of open communication and trust, it is sharing what needs to be shared in this family setup. We don't want to have a situation whereby it becomes like a rumor, where the couple or the family members don't trust each other. And so, for example, if it is my husband, I'd rather share something with someone outside there and not him. Then he gets to come and hear about it. For example, with someone who could have lost the opportunity, and I've seen this really happen many times with couples, whereby maybe a husband has lost an opportunity, whether business or a deal or employment, and they decide, this one I'm not telling or sharing to my wife. And this guy still continues to wake up every morning, prepares, goes to work, comes back in the evening. And remember, they are not even gone to work. They are so insecure to share this information with their loved ones. And it really gets into a situation whereby they are so stressed up. And when it comes to the end month and the bills ought to be paid, now there is a crisis because there's no income. Maybe this guy is not so open, or maybe this wife is not so open to say this really happened. And we can be able to ask ourselves, which are the opportunities do we look up to, or how do we support each other? And so it gets to a point that we ought to have an open communication and trust when we say we can be able to resolve this. So holding each other is key, and this is where I want us to spend a bit of minutes, and helping each other. When I said I will borrow much from the Christian life in the saying that family or marriage was God's idea. Yes, it's a good idea, but it's God's idea. And God called on us to be helping each other. When he saw the man being lonely, he said he's going to give him a helper to be able to accomplish or to walk the journey of accomplishing his vision together. So then the known is that we have come to help each other in ideas, helping each other in whatever it is that in a family we do, whether in business, whether in whatever context, we've come to help each other. And so in this family, we want to ask ourselves, are we here to help each other, or are we here to sabotage each other to see the outcome that is expected of us? And supporting each other. When we say, I'm helping my spouse, my husband today, in doing, maybe there's some business he's doing, and I want to help him to grow it to the next level. Now, when it comes to supporting each other, more or less the same. However, it could be this spouse is good in doing a thing, and maybe the other spouse is not good in doing that. And there will be the support of, let me support my spouse to be able to accomplish a thing for the interest of the family. Because when you support each other, remember, the end result is for the entire family. It's not just for being selfish, or if I help my husband in doing or accomplishing a thing, it is for him. The gain is not for him, it is for the interest of the entire family. The profits are for the entire family. Complementing each other. When you talk of complementing, we talk of in a family setup, and or even in a marriage setup, you find that there's someone who is strong in an area, and there's another one who is also strong in a different area. So where I am strong, my husband could be weak there, and where he's strong, I am weak there. And that comes to complement. For example, for me, I know I am issues to do with garage, issues to do with say, anything to do with technical issues, I'll be not strong there. But for me, I'll be able to complement my husband in even doing marketing, his businesses, and doing maybe in customer service. I will be able to do that because I am strong in marketing, I am strong in sales, I am strong in that kind of stuff. But for him, he'll be able to complement me in his strength of doing a thing. Now, support is like, for example, I am maybe we talked about being challenged because of crisis happening, and then maybe I have seen it in the recent past because of what has happened. The husband being the one who has lost an opportunity, and then the wife is left the one who is working. And then you want to ask yourself, then how can this husband support the wife? Because remember, she's out here either in business or working, and she comes in back in the house, evening tired, and maybe they don't have a house help. I remember beginning of this family setup, and Coach Roy was taking us through how we can be able to hold on to the crisis of financials. If it is cutting cost, if it is maybe cutting cost, it could be getting into a smaller house, for example, or maybe doing away with the help that we've been having, or even disposing vehicles so that you can just use one. I remember that conversation. And so this support could be this wife, because she's stayed the whole day working and she's come tired, and then the husband is waiting, or the children, and they're waiting for their mother not to get into the kitchen this time round, but for her to find a ready meal, you know. And in some setups, those are our African men at times, they feel this should not be my cup of tea. We have defined the roles of a woman to be this, that, the roles of a man, this, that. But I believe when it comes to a family setup, then each and every family should be able to define their roles and ask ourselves, how can we be able to support each other? Because wisdom demands, I mean, I will understand my roles as a wife, and my husband will understand his roles, and we are good to get to go together. I remember when COVID happened, and I'll just give an example of my husband, because for him, the kind of business he was in, he was the first one that was hit, in the tour industry. And like I mentioned, not anyone who knew then COVID is coming for which season. Is it for 1 month, for 2 weeks? And things are not happening. And of course, I witnessed people getting creative and saying they can use all the resources they have to try to bring some income. We usually say money would not indicate itself. I'm coming from this kind of a hustle or whatever. And so, for our case, then my husband is here. He will be able to source out for. We tried all sorts of businesses, and I've mentioned to you that I am good in marketing. So him, he will be the behind the curtains person, source for whatever it is he wants to source. We've tried eggs, we've tried sale of fruits, we've tried, all those kind of things. Even as we try to figure out, then he will be able to source out, and when he sources out, then I'll come and do the marketing and the sales, and the things will be working. And that is what we call supporting each other. Because I'll not say, because your opportunity is lost, then you should be able to figure out. And remember, we talked of the sensitivity aspect. This person is also sensitive, opportunity is here. In this season, I've seen even, the so-called machine. Someone has packed a machine with pineapples, and they're saying, I am not taking myself to have a lot of pride not to sell these pineapples, or not to sell this chicken, or not to sell this. People are creative in all manner of things to see that they have gotten some income. One, to keep themselves busy. Second, to get some income coming, because if you are locked and no business is happening and not going to work, then whatever it is you have saved at the savings that you have, then it gets on. Every other day you're doing a minus work, and by the end of the day you find maybe you don't have much savings as you ought to. And so that is what it calls for support. You may have someone working behind the scenes and the other one at the forefront, and these are family setup. And by the end of the day, you find you have gotten that kind of support to help the entire family. It's not one being selfish or having the pride of, hey, my machine cannot carry pineapples, my machine cannot do this and that. But it called for those measures that we could take the drastic ones to hold on to this crisis that has just happened. And as a family life has to continue, because we're intentional that this is just a season that is coming to an end. And by the end of the day, we should be better holding on together and supporting each other. So complementing each other is very key, identifying each other's strength and covering them with your strengths, and vice versa. And holding the performance review for better performance, just like we said, a family institution, equivalent to a corporate institution, it is always good to sit down and ask ourselves, how far have we gone? What did you want to achieve as a family? And how far have we come? So are there things that have been working so well for us that we can continue with? Are there those that are not been working so that we can drop them? And then what is the area of improvement that we can? This one you can only do when you can be able to communicate effectively. You can be able to work together this journey. You can be able to support each other. And so it will call for us to be intentional and say, I will be able to take that pause. As a family, yes. And as a couple, is it every month? Is it every quarter? And measure our productivity in this life, because by the end of the day, this is a journey and we have a bigger goal to achieve, and within that bigger goal, the structures ought to be set, and the structures are these small things we do every other day. I just want to thank God for COVID, because that really made us. We spent more time together, especially the curfew and especially the coming home and working from home. People got to know each other even better. Initially it was like those that are in business, we don't have time to pause and think of we have more time. Everybody's a busy bodies, waking up very early in the morning, coming late in the evening. At times, even children don't find us because we are so busy looking for money. And until time, we are like, pause, everyone get home, get to know each other, gets to have some time together, and ask yourselves these hard questions. How have I been doing it? How better can I do it this time round? And so I believe and I trust that with crisis happening, we can always learn the lessons. And as we learn the lessons, we apply them to be better versions of ourselves. Because if we are better versions of ourselves as individuals, then as partners, then the family setup will also be affected to have a better family that we can all enjoy and find peace and find that comfort. So exploring together, doing things together, sharing that love, valuing one another is very key. And whether they are the ones affected or not affected, but we hold to respect each other. No one expects a bad thing to happen to their family or to their family members or to their spouses. But again, as we do not wish them anything bad, so whatever it is, values or ideas that we share them with respect, and we share them with the mind of valuing one another. And what should glue us also again in this family setup should be love. So let's remember to help one another. Let's remember to support each other, because COVID and also crisis have taught us, especially even in sickness, that family is far much better, or it is the most important, because by the end of the day, we all come to rest in the family setup. When someone is sick and the friends and the colleagues are not near them, then the only people that are near this kind of a person again, the family members. And then we ought to cultivate to have very good relationship with our family members, with our family people, so that in case of the crisis happening, then we find a safe space to land where we are taken care of, where we are loved, where we are shown respect, and the Lord will be able to help us navigate this in a greater way. And so I have this quote that I want to leave us with, that the secret of crisis management is not good versus bad. We're not coming to flesk the muscles. It is preventing the bad from getting worse, by Auntie Gilman. So it is very important for us to understand our space and ask ourselves, then how would I have done it better? Irrespective of all these things happening, how can I do it better? How can I make the other person feel valued? How can I make them feel loved? How can I make them feel appreciated, other than blaming them, other than pointing my fingers to them, other than standing to look like I am the perfect person? Then I can only see the other person who has done wrong, but not me, loving each other and treating each other with respect will be able to take us long in this journey and find a peaceful environment to live in called the family. I usually love it. My mom is the one who always reminds me that peace will never be found in the shelves of any supermarket. And you know what, friends? That this peace is most important than the money that we keep on going to look for every other day. Peace is most important than the materials. Peace is the most important aspect that we ought to pursue for. So anything that is not guaranteeing peace or adding to peace, then it's something we ought to stay away from and say, I ought to pause myself here and ask myself, is it adding to peace? Is it contributing to peace? Then it is worthy to pursue it if it is bringing in peace, because the intention of us getting ourselves in this marriage or in this family is to make each other happy, is to make each other valuable, it is to add value to one another. So can we get to learn and understand then how can I add value from where I sit, and to have peace and to have happiness and joy? We have what it takes, and it can be done. We can learn from others who have gone ahead of us, and we can seek for that support that is required of us to be better. We don't need to reinvent the wheel, but we can be able to work with those that have already been able to go ahead of us. So thank you so much. I wish to pause it there.